Welcome. This video is the hand model of the three-part brain, and I'd like to thank Dan Siegel from the very outset for developing this fabulous idea of the hand model of the brain. I'm going to tweak it somewhat in relation to the idea of the three-part brain, but many of the ideas are the same. So the first idea is, if you hold your hand up, the hand model can be used as a model of thinking about these three different parts of the brain. So if you start off with the wrist is considered the spinal cord, and the palm can be considered the reptile brain. So as you enter the skull, the brainstem or the reptile brain is here. Your thumb could be considered the mammal brain, the limbic system, which wraps around the reptile brain. And your fingers could be considered the human brain, which wraps on top of the reptile and mammal brain. And they're all connected. When we're doing well, when we haven't flipped our lid, they're all connected. But when we're tired, when we're in pain, when someone pushes an emotional button, when maybe drank too much, kids use drugs, someone pushes that button, we can flip our lid. And once we flip our lid, you can see the only thing connecting to our spinal cord, our actions, is our reptile brain. We lose our mammal brain. We lose our moral reasoning. We lose our empathy, the us. It just becomes me. And we certainly lose our thinking, our ability to be curious, to be able to wonder. Not only do we disconnect our thinking from a controlling role in our reptile brain, but in fact our thinking can fragment. Instead of having integrated thinking where everything lines up and we can have, we can wonder, we can be curious, we can say maybe a bit of this, maybe a bit of that, our thinking fragments. And our reptile brain is sending out messages to our human brain, but very little is coming back the other way, sending out messages of fear, danger, watch out, all or nothing, black and white, because reptiles, it's now or it's not now. And so we can start having crazy thoughts like, this will never get better. What's the point in trying? They don't love me at all. They never do anything for me. Where when they're thinking, they can list 1,000 things that you've done for them, but once they flip their lid, you never do anything for me. For some, I may as well be dead. They would never think that way when they're connected up. But when they flip their lid, crazy thoughts and dissociation where people freeze, and sometimes they can have the perception of the world can alter into a more dangerous or more paranoid way. People can start hearing voices, not the psychotic voices of schizophrenia or psychosis, but voices, thoughts in their mind that are experienced as if it's not them. That fragmented thinking that can happen when we flip our lid and our reptile starts running the show. And so the idea is that we want to, as parents, we don't want to do this. I mean, if we flip our lid, if we're fine and a kid flips their lid and then we flip our lid, it's just two reptiles going. Someone wins, someone loses, but in the end, the relationship loses because we avoid each other after. So when our kid flips their lid, it's most important that we stay mammal-human integrated. And the ideas of reflecting that we're going to look at in chapter 10, where we thoughtfully, caringly, curiously, calmly put it back on them, helping them to come back down. In fact, much of parenting is helping our children who are struggling with this fact that they flip to more quickly come back down and to think again. So this is the hand model of the three-part brain. And this can be used with very young children to explain that when they flip their lid, all of a sudden, they're going to be a reptile. And that's okay. The event doesn't matter. It's what happens next that matter. How do we bring it back down again? And there's soothing reptiles physically. There's soothing reptiles with the senses. There's the bolt hole. Again, would have seen the video, or you might have seen the video in chapter 3 about how do you soothe a reptile, how do you train a dragon. So again, thank you, Dan Siegel, for such a fabulous idea.